Christ is risen.
Truly is risen.
And happy Mother's Day to all mothers who celebrate today. The Sunday sermons have been dedicated after the Sunday of Pascha into the Matins Gospels, but we're going to deviate from this series today to focus on the Gospel of the day, the Gospel of the Samaritan woman, Saint Fotini. That woman that the Gospel refers to as just the Samaritan woman is the one who is considered equal to the apostles, Samaritan, and we celebrate her by her name, Saint Fotini. So, but I want to focus more on the historical background. And the historical background, of course, the theological is great, and there's so many lessons here, but focusing on the historical is for a reason. Because Orthodox as we are, we do not read the Bible as a King James version. We do not read the Bible as something completely abstract, completely out of reality. We read in the Bible stories of actual people, in actual space and actual time. And it is of great importance for us, the Orthodox, first to understand the humanity in the Bible, and second, to find the relationship with all these places, with all these names and references that to this day an Orthodox Church still remains and thrives in these places. So when we go back to history, we ask the so-called W questions: when, where, who, why, and going on and on. The today's story is around a well, the well of Jacob. This well of Jacob, first of all, why is related to Jacob? It is related to Jacob the patriarch. And when I say patriarch, the original Greek meaning of the word patriarch means a great father. So the story goes back to the book of Genesis. Abraham, the first one who makes a covenant with God. It was Noah before him, but let's say Abraham, and then his son Isaac, who renews the covenant with God, and then his grandson Jacob. Jacob was the father of 12 sons. 12 sons that they're known as the 12 patriarchs, great fathers of Israel. Now, I have to say that later in the story, as Abraham in the beginning was Abram and then became Abraham, and we see so many other people changing their names in the Bible, Jacob, later on his name was changed to Israel. So the 12 sons of Jacob are also the 12 sons of Israel, or great fathers of Israel. Each son developed his own family, his own clan, his own greater family, and eventually they all developed to one nation. Jacob, back in his story, he was the second son, not the first, so he didn't have the firstborn rights, but he found a way to deceive his father and take it instead of his brother Esau. Esau was furious at Jacob, and Jacob had to flee his father's house and travel to his uncle. And in the broader area, by the way, at that time was known as Canaan. So traveling far away from his father's house, he stopped to drink water at a well. In this well, he met two sisters, One of them caught his attention and later on became his wife, Rachel. And for the Israelites, that was a place of great importance, as they could go and trace back that one of their great forefathers was there drinking water from this well, the well of Jacob. Great place of importance and a pilgrimage at the same time. Now the story of Jacob, as most of the stories of Genesis, it's hard to put date there, but it is, if we try to do the most accurate that we can go to history, that would be 17th century, so we're talking about 1600 years before Christ. Later on, as the 12 tribes grew, they grew into a kingdom. The first king was Saul, then the second king was David. During the reign of David, that kingdom got at its peak. Then came Solomon, and the king following Solomon, who was Solomon's son Rehoboam, was not as capable as his father or grandfather, and the kingdom was divided into two pieces. The south kingdom, that there were two tribes from the two families of Jacob, the tribe of Benjamin and Judah. This is why it was called the king of Judah, and we say the Judeans. And even to this day, we refer to the Jewish people because of that. And the north kingdom, which was known as the kingdom of Israel, and that kingdom had 10 tribes included, consisted of the 10 tribes. These kingdoms, you would think that they would think one another as brothers. It didn't happen. They fought the whole time until the Babylonians came and destroyed both kingdoms. By the way, the two kingdoms, the south one had as capital Jerusalem, and the north one had as capital Samaria, the city that we hear today, Christ visiting Samaria. Even though they were coming from the same ancestors, Judeans and Samaritans did not get along together. This is why we hear in the parable of the Good Samaritan that the good guy is a Samaritan. Imagine that. This is how, like, the love of God, how far it can go. It can even include Samaritans into that understanding of the Jewish people back then. Now, 1st century AD, we have this great story that Christ meets the Samaritan woman around this well. And in the gospel today, we saw that surprisingly enough, the Samaritans received the gospel of Christ much better than the Judeans. Now, in the mid-2nd century, now we're talking about 150 years, in 150 AD, 135 as a matter of fact, there was a great revolt in this area to break off the Romans. The Romans went back, they responded fiercely, they destroyed the revolt, it was a bloodbath, and they changed the names of the cities, hoping that everything Jewish will be forgotten in the area. There was no more Jerusalem, was Aeolia, Capitolia, or something like that. But Samaria was renamed to Flavia Neapolis. And Flavia Neapolis was known as throughout the Byzantine Empire. In the 4th century, after St. Constantine, the area around the well of Jacob became a Christian pilgrimage because in honor and commemoration of Christ being there and meeting Saint Photinie, the great martyr. By the way, it is called Neapolis to this day. Only the Arab version of the name Neapolis, which is Nablus. Sometimes in the news you hear about Nablus, and this is the city of Samaria. Why am I saying this? Because as I said, we as Orthodox, we cannot read the Bible, the King James Version. When we hear about some unrest going there, some churches being threatened there, we should think that these are our people. And Christianity in the blues goes as far as Christ and the Samaritan woman. And we actually need to pray fervently for the Christians in the area who, besides all the difficulties, they insist and persist in keeping Christianity in the area. That pilgrimage, besides Jacob the patriarch and Christ and the Samaritan woman, is also associated with another saint, Saint Philomenos. Saint Philomenos, a martyr of the church that martyred in 1979. Saint Philomenos was assigned by the Jerusalem Patriarchate to be the keeper of the pilgrimage. He was a priest monk, very devout in his monastic rule and in his priestly rule. He was known in the area for his merciful outreach that had in the area. But unfortunately, there were some Israeli fundamentalists. Fundamentalism is always bad, no matter which direction it comes from, that they went and they told him that this well is more Jewish than Christian and he had to evacuate the place. He refused to do that. He said that this place, since it was sanctified by Christ, it is a Christian place. And Christians have been keeping that place since the 4th century. Late November of the year 1979, on a Saturday, as he went and put on his epitrachilion, the epitrachilion is that part of the priestly vestments, to do vespers, Israeli fundamentalists broke into the place and they killed him with an axe. The forensic report speaks about 72 strikes. 72 strikes. But soon after his martyrdom, many miracles started to spring out from his shrine, and it was not long that the church canonized that man. And Saint Philomenos' story is connected with the story of the Samaritan woman today because it helps us understand our origins. It helps us understand that we are here by faith, by truth, and also by the blood of our great forefathers, all of them, who strove and still strive to keep the pilgrimage up, to keep the connection with the Bible, to keep the connection with the Holy Land. And let's pray that Saint Fotini, the great martyr and equal to the apostles, and Saint Philomenos, the priest martyr, will always intercede with God for us and for the Church of God and the Church of Christ. Thank you.